Hello and welcome. In this video, we will be going over the basics of how to get started with PyMOL 3, creating, saving and opening PyMOL sessions, bringing in structures and exploring basic controls. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to open PyMOL and set your working directory, use PyMOL to download or import structural files, understand the contents panel and use various mouse and toolbar controls, and save PyMOL session files and open existing sessions. If you're already familiar with PyMOL, this might all sound quite straightforward, but as with all of the video tutorials in this course, we will be using PyMOL 3, so there will be plenty of new features and terminology that you won't want to miss. Let's get started. Open PyMOL 3. I'm using a Mac, so I'm going to open it from the Applications menu or using the search function, and things may look a little different for you if you're using a different operating system. Please see the installation and licensing guidance on pymol.org, in the course FAQ guide, or click the link below this video for installation and licensing instructions. If you have multiple versions of PyMOL installed like I do, be sure to open PyMOL 3. If you're unsure which version you're using, you can come up to the PyMOL menu in the top left and click About PyMOL to see the version number. You can also type get_version in the command input area, and the command log, which can be opened or closed with the command button in the toggle toolbar, additionally indicates other information on launch, including things like your PyMOL license expiry date. Before we bring in any structures, let's start by setting the working directory. Come up to File and choose Working Directory, then Change. I'm going to navigate to my PyMOL 3 course data directory here and click Open. Next up, we're going to download a file from the Protein Data Bank or PDB. You can learn more about the PDB at rcsb.org. Setting a working directory prior to downloading any PDB files means that any structures we fetch will be saved to our working directory. Come up to File and choose Get PDB. Next to PDB ID, type 1BNA. The panel here also tells you how you can run this command via PyMOL's command input area, and we will fetch a structure using this method later. Click Download. Great! We can see a wonderful 3D DNA double helix structure has appeared in the workspace, and some information about the structure, the PDB entry title, is printed in the command log below the workspace area. On the right-hand side of the PyMOL interface, we can see that our PDB has been added to the Contents panel. The objects that PyMOL renders in 3D are loaded from coordinate files that describe locations of individual atoms in the molecule. PyMOL can display a large number of objects at a time, and we can use the Contents panel to adjust viewing modes, colors, labels, and just about anything relating to objects. If you click on the 1BNA tile name, you can see that we can toggle between it being included or excluded in the workspace. The All object controls everything in the Contents panel, and we can use this to adjust global settings or include and exclude everything. We'll come back to this later as we load in more structures. Next to each entry in the Contents panel is a set of buttons. The letters here stand for Action, Show, Hide, Label, and Color, and you may hear these buttons referred to as the ASHLC or ASHLC submenus. We'll be covering a lot of these commands in later videos, but feel free to explore and play around with some of the options to get a feel for things. Below the Contents panel, we can see the toggle toolbar. The first button here is the mouse mode toggle, and it is in 3-button viewing mode as default. Clicking it toggles between viewing and editing mode. Click on the up arrow to open the mouse mode menu, and notice the other available mouse options and inspect the mouse controls for 3-button viewing mode. Let's test some of these out. Hold down the left mouse button and move to rotate the structure. Next, hold down the right mouse button and move your mouse backwards and forwards to zoom in and out. Hold down the scroll wheel on your mouse to move the view in the Z-plane, left to right. Scrolling the scroll wheel alters the clipping plane slab, effectively carving through your structure. If you lose sight or want to recenter an object in the workspace, you can use the Zoom menu or Orient button in the Action toolbar. You can even click on the Rock button to turn on or off a gentle rocking motion. These buttons and indeed this whole toolbar are new in PyMOL 3. In older versions of PyMOL, you can find the zoom and orient options under the Actions submenu in the Contents panel, or by right-clicking to bring up a pop-up menu. Before we go any further, let's come up to File and choose Save Session As. You will see that the default save location is the working directory we selected earlier, and that the PDB file we fetched has been downloaded to this location as a .cif file. Let's call this session PDB example and click Save. The session name, with the default .pse extension, is now reflected in the system toolbar. It is worth noting that PyMOL does not automatically save things, so you'll need to remember to save work manually as you go along, using File, Save Session, or by typing Control or Command and S depending on your operating system. Let's load in another structure, then save this session again. In the command input area, type fetch 6pv7. This large funnel-shaped structure is a nicotinic acetylcholine receptor with 2 nicotine molecules bound. We can see that our 1BNA DNA structure is now nowhere to be seen, so let's use the zoom and orient buttons to fit everything into the workspace. If desired, we can toggle off or exclude the 6pv7 structure so it's grayed out in the Contents panel, and do Zoom Visible to fill the workspace with just the 1BNA structure again, and reset the center of rotation to only the visible object. Save the session using Control or Command and S on the keyboard, or come up to File and choose Save Session. You can see that the session has been saved successfully and the location it has been saved to in the command log. There may be times when we import a structure by mistake or simply want to delete something. We can click on the Action submenu next to an entry that we don't want to keep and choose Delete Object. This removes the entry from the Contents panel so it is no longer available within this PyMOL session. We can also easily load files into PyMOL, and there's no need to refetch anything that has already been downloaded from the protein databank, even if we've deleted it from a PyMOL session. Let's try this now by coming up to File, Open, and choose the 6pv7.cif file. This is the original file from the protein databank that we fetched. It is still here in our working directory, even though we deleted the object from our PyMOL session. It has now been loaded back into our PDB example PyMOL session, and we can see it in the Contents panel. As well as loading in structures from the File Open menu, we can also load in session files. Let's load in the pre-generated PyMOL session file called pdb101.pse from the PyMOL 3 course data directory. I'm going to load it as a new session, but you can also merge sessions in PyMOL, which can be really handy if you have different structures and objects saved in different sessions and you want to bring them into the same PyMOL session. You can additionally open PyMOL sessions in new windows and have multiple PyMOL sessions running at once. Toggle the All tile in the Contents panel to include all structures, then click Zoom, All, followed by the Orient button. This pre-generated session file contains a selection of large and small structures, some biological, some materials, and each entry has a corresponding PDB 101 Molecule of the Month article linked in the video description so that you can learn more about the science behind each of these structures. If you're new to PyMOL, go ahead and familiarize yourself with the mouse controls, including and excluding each of the structures, zooming in and out, and take some time to inspect things. You could try recreating this session file by downloading each of these structures yourself using the fetch command, and you might also want to test out some of the colouring and representation options from the AshLC submenus, though we'll cover more about changing the way things look in future videos. A reminder for online course participants that all tutorial videos come with a downloadable transcript so you can easily review anything covered in this tutorial. Check out the list of command line arguments available in the optional extra task section of the downloadable transcript to familiarize yourself with the open, save, and set working directory arguments using the command prompt rather than the interface. That brings us to the end of this tutorial. You can now open PyMOL, set your working directory, use PyMOL to download or import structure files, understand the contents panel and use various mouse and toolbar controls, and save PyMOL session files and open existing sessions. Thanks for watching.